So I am going to take out a turn signal switch and put in a new turn signal switch for a 1980 through 1991 Ford F150 or Bronco. And the first step you want to do is take a picture of the wiring, because we're going to take all these wires out. And you want to get the back side of the plug as well. That way we can put the wires back exactly the way they were. And then I'm going to take out this red piece. And this clip is what's holding the wires into the socket. And inside there are these little tabs that hold the wires in. So you just want to bend those back. Of course, this is twisted, so. And that's what it looks like. There's just a round plug in there. Probably should note that there's 3 green wires. The one I just took out is green with an orange stripe. The next one, green one, is a solid green, and on the back side is green with a white stripe. There's also 2 white wires. The one I took out on top was white with a red stripe. The white wire on the back is white with a blue stripe. There's also 2 blues, but you can easily tell that one's a light blue and that's a dark blue. But that's why we take the photos. Try to do this quickly. This black with red wire is actually optional on early 1980 Broncos and F-150s. That's the key buzzer. So if you leave your key in the ignition, that will make it buzz. Some of them won't have that, but all of them have it after around 1987 or so. Okay, so that's out now. I'm going to take the sleeve off. This wiring harness, we want to pull it through the column, but it will not go through with this sleeve on here. And the sleeve has to go back on because it protects the wiring harness when you tuck it back into the column later. All right, the next step, Christina, if you want to come over here. There's 2 screws that hold this switch in and 1 bolt. I told you about the black and red wire that has a key buzzer. That's the key buzzer sensor. So that is a 1/4 inch socket. I'll get that one out. And then the 2 screws are behind. Well, we can go over quick that this turn signal switch is good, but if you ever wanted to know if it was good or not, you would look at that and see if it catches. Obviously, sometimes they don't even catch, but then this cancels it. So as the turning, so right now you're making a right-hand turn, and your turn continues, and this is what cancels it. This is connected to the steering wheel. Then when you go back straight again, that cancels the turn. So that's one way to check if it's working or not. If these are bent clear out like this, it won't cancel. They need to be tucked in tight. Okay, so now we're going to take this switch out, and the screw is behind that cancel cam. There's 2 screws. You also want to unscrew the turn signal stalk here. That one's out. And this one. This can be done inside the car. The column doesn't have to be out of the car to do this. This is just a rebuilt column that I sell on eBay. All right, now I want to feed these wires through. And there's your switch. Now, you should note that this is a tilt column, so a tilt column has this mechanism for tilting, causing the tilt, and there's this tab here, and that tab has to seat in a hole inside this casting inside here. So when we put the new one in, it's very important that that tab gets put in, it seats properly into the hole. Now we're going to get our new switch out. And there's a couple things you have to do to prepare this switch to be installed. It can't just go straight in. This came from the factory with the wires pointing kind of out. You can see that wires pointing. Let's look at this original switch here and compare it. This is what I'm talking about. The wires are sticking out. See how the wires are snug right there? And the wires from the factory on this new switch are sticking out. Those need to be pushed flush, otherwise it won't fit. So we just take our thumb and bend them down, just like that. And now, same with this black wire for this key buzzer. It's not shaped right. It needs to be shaped. This is just a protective cover to protect the sensor for the key buzzer, and it may need to be bent in just slightly. And then that's ready. Now look at this wiring here and compare it to the original. This will never go in the column like that. You see, it has to be bent down, where here it's pointing out. So what we're going to do is bend that down like this, and we're going to get it as flush to this plastic and bent behind it as possible so that it'll go into the column. And try not to bend or touch this cancel cam while doing that. Okay, now I have to take the wiring harness. This comes all assembled, but there's no way that you can put this in. I mean, you could try taking this all apart and it doesn't matter. It will not go through the column with this plug on. It has to be disassembled, and it's designed to come apart. So we'll pry out the red clip. And we'll do the same thing again. Take all these wires out and slide this sleeve down. I will say that the wires are all the same colors from 1980 to 1991. The only difference being that instead of a solid stripe along the wire, like for example, this is white with a red stripe. In 1980, it would be white with red dots. And that would be the same with like a green wire with brown dots, or green wire with orange dots instead of a solid stripe. But the colors are the same. They all changed to stripe, orange with, orange with like a white stripe. That would be around 1987. They're all that way. After that, with the stripe instead of the dots. Okay, let's get this sleeve off. It will not go through with the sleeve. Okay, now this is the most difficult part, is trying to feed these wires through here. And if you look inside the column, this is a manual trans column, but where you want the wires to go is right through here. Can you see that? Right through there. Right above that tilt lever. And when they want to come out over here, Christina, if you want to show. On this column, they'll come out right here. Okay. Which is about straight in line with the hole for the turn signal switch. And there's a couple ways to do it. You could feed each wire one at a time, like that, and then try to keep it from, or you can try to feed them all at once, but obviously you're gonna have these things fray out and make a mess. So I like to tape the wires together and stagger them so they're not so big. I'm going to use some electrical tape. So what I mean by stagger is like have them just kind of bunch up lower and lower down on the wiring harness. Something like that, so that they're not all a big huge clump trying to get through there. Something like that. And sometimes even this is difficult to get through, even when it's all staggered like this. But give it a shot here. Hopefully it works in the video. Something like that. Now we're going to hopefully make it through here on the first shot. There it is. You can see where the staggering helped me get that through. If you tried to tape them all together all in a big clump, it would probably not make it through like that. Okay. Now we'll just go ahead and pull so we get it. Halfway through. Okay, now we're going to install this switch, and like I said, I'm going to show with this light. This is the tilt mechanism, and this is like a fulcrum, and that tip needs to fit inside a hole. If you want to get over on this side, it needs to fit in that hole right there. And it won't go if the wires aren't bent down like we did earlier. So we definitely want to make sure these are down. And the very first thing we're going to try to put in is this key buzzer. And on the back side here, you can see there's a hazard switch. You want to pull that out, and you want to loop this black and red wire so that it doesn't get pinched by the hazard switch. And here's the 1/4 inch screw that we're going to put the hazard or the key buzzer switch in. And the key buzzer switch goes right here, and we're going to put that in first. It's oriented like this, and this wire comes out at an angle and hits the side of this casting, so you have to bend it too a little bit. And there, that's in. Now we're going to tuck this wire back behind this hazard switch, so you see it's going into the column there. And we're also going to at the same time go over the shaft for the steering wheel and work our way in. Now I'm going to try to wiggle it into that I want that fulcrum for the tilt mechanism to go into its hole, and it might help to look down this hole here. It should be centered with that hole, and you'll feel it when it goes in. There, it went in. I felt it go in. So now we're going to put these two screws, and these screws have a special shoulder on them. There's multiple screws inside the steering column, but the two that hold the switch in, the two that hold the turn signal switch in, are silver. The pieces that hold the rest of the column together are painted black. And these are special with the, like I said, so I'm going to put the right screws in for the switch. It helps if you have a magnetic tip screwdriver like I do, and you can move this cancel cam back a little bit to get room. I wouldn't bend it too much, because that will, if you bend the cancel cam too much, it needs to spring back like that so that it'll still cancel. But it is behind it, so you do have to move it. Oop. That's where there we go. That's where that magnetic screwdriver comes in handy. Let's see if I can get my light there. See, I'm moving that cancel cam out of my way a little bit. It was tight. You don't want to have to come back and do this again. Okay, now that turn signal switch is in. Let's test it. This turn signal stock goes in at a slight angle. There's a lever right here. That's the lever that actuates the tilt. So you got to move that out of the way and kind of find the threads. It's a little bit of an angle. Don't want to strip it either. There it is. Just got to be patient and try to find the right angle for that, because it is a little bit of a weird angle. Okay, so there's a right turn, left turn, right turn. Let's see if it'll cancel. There it did. Left turn, see if that'll cancel. It did. So that's how you test that. Make sure it cancels. Okay, next step. Don't forget to put, so here's an original sleeve, and here's the sleeve that comes in with the new switch. It can be difficult to get the new ones on, and maybe you like the part number being on there if you're a fan of originality. So let's put it back on with the original Ford part number. Might as well. Broncos are starting to be worth a lot of money. There you go. And the sleeve should sit maybe about like that, so there's no wires showing here, and you can still tuck it here. Now we're going to put the wires back in. Now this is where the photos we took on my wife's phone, she'll set it up for me so I can see it. All right, so you see the first wire is going to be white, or yellow with a white stripe. And you can see the orientation here. The red plug, this red clip goes in this way. So that's the open end of the plug, and this is the end that you stick the wire into. So, and it's got a curve. So the curve with the more number of holes in the top is the one we're going to start with, and it has the yellow with the white stripe. And you might have to turn it a little bit to get it in. The next one is white with a red stripe, and you might have to turn them because there's little tips on here that catch, and sometimes you have to turn them to get them to go. And they snap in. You can tug them. They're definitely in. The next wire would be green with a orange stripe. There's 3 green wires, so there's the one with the orange stripe. Next, orange with a white stripe. Next is a light blue. There's 2 blues, but the dark blue goes on the other side. There's the light blue. And a green, and it looks like it could be green with a white stripe. There's 3 greens, so how do I get to the next picture? So it could be, so this is the bottom side, so it's green with a white stripe on the bottom. So that means that one goes on the bottom. This one is a solid green, goes here. And then the black stripe, black with a red stripe, excuse me, which is for the key buzzer. Then we'll do the other side, and the first wire is the green with the white stripe. have to spin it a little bit. Sometimes they don't want to go in. Super easy. Don't want to bend them either. There it went. Just keep spinning it. And then white with a blue stripe. And finally, the dark blue. And this is normal. This last outlet is always empty. Always. And you know you did it right if that's empty. So now I like this. And I see Ford columns usually have this curve kind of up against this column like this. So a lot of times they won't sit that way unless you twist the wires because they're turned a certain way. But so we'll just give it a little twist to help it stay against the column just like that. And now you have successfully replaced the turn signal switch.
What about the red stripe?
Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. Thank you, Christina. So this red plastic will hold those wires in place, and all these are like little piano keys that go up and down. And if you have to split the ones that are going to the bottom and the ones going to the top. And this little plastic piece should go in like that. With you should have a gray little clip on that round wire plug so that it holds it in. Like over here you can see there's a little gray plastic piece holding that round wire plug.
Can't really see it that
each
well.
one. Oh, can't you? Oh, maybe if I hold it about like that. Okay, there. Let's see. There, at me, you don't need the light.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. You got one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Looks like it's going to go in just like that. Okay. Now it's done. And that's from 1980 through 1991, Ford F-150 and Broncos. Hope you found this helpful.